Shalom. Before I begin this video, first and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Wahawa Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that continually roll very well. And Shalom to the Hof elect that's continually plowing this work, giving diligence to make your calling and election sure in all faith, truth, and sincerity. Shalom. Now, the topic of this video is going to be entitled, America Was Never For Us. And when I say us, I mean us that are of the nation of Israel, which is the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. This society that's been built up, which, by the way, was on the blood and the backs of slaves, which was our forefathers. It was never built for our benefit. You know, it was never built to have our best interests in mind, so to speak. But this place was built up for Esau, or the Edomites, and for their benefit, in which that's the true biblical nationality of the so-called white man. All right, that's why when you tune into the media, and you go about your everyday life, that's why you see everything geared to the so-called white man. That's why us, concerning our nation, that's why we're the first fired and the last hired. That's why we're the butt of everyone's joke. And that's the reason why also too, that's why you have a term called gentrification. All right, trying to basically to dislocate or to get our people out of certain areas so that these Edomites, the so-called white man, can live there, man. All right, they build up certain residential areas which are not geared towards our people, but they rather keep our people in a lower state because, for one thing, they know who we are. All right, these elites of Esau, which are the bankers, the banking families, they know exactly who we are. All right, and because they know who we are, they still have that same, or should I say, they still have the hatred going all the way back to the time of Jacob and Esau. All right, but the thing is that now the tables are turning with these devils. Now it's to the time to where now the way that they living, or the way that they are living, is declining. All right, that's why the birth rate has fallen. That's why the monetary system is failing, and the structure that they set up is deteriorating. All right, and they see this, so therefore, these devils, man, they're losing sleep, man. They're losing sleep. They're losing their minds over it because they realize that now the curses that were put on us is now starting to be put on them. All right, but we here, they call ourselves Hebrew Israelites, that's in this truth. We understand full well that this place, even though it seems pleasurable to the eye, but it never will be for our benefit, man. No matter what's been set up here in America, it'll never be for our benefit, man, because at the end result of all these things is death, man. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the scriptures, the book of Micah, the 2nd chapter, and I'm gonna start the 10th verse. Let me pull up the word real quick. It's Micah, the 2nd chapter, in the 10th verse. It says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sword destruction." All right, you see? Because it's polluted, man. this place is corrupted. You know, the vibration of America that you see here in the society today, man, is completely wicked. All right. So that's why I said, look, arise ye and depart, which, in other words, to leave out the ways of America and come back to the ways of our forefathers, which are the Hebrew Israelites, because this place is gonna destroy you in the end, man. All right. Because like I mentioned at the title of the video, you know, there's really nothing here for us, man. All right. Because let's say, for instance, you know, if you by chance have a thought in your head, like, you know, you might be tempted to go back into the world, but the thing is that we left off everything, all right, and there's nothing to go back to, and there never was anything to go back to, because the way of life that we used to live before we called ourselves Hebrew Israelites, man, we wasn't living. All right, we wasn't truly living. All right, we were still dead, you know, going through the motions of life, not knowing anything, man. So what would be what benefit would you have going back into the world, man? All right. Now I want to grab another precept. The one where it says, "His curses shall come upon thy enemies." Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where it is. Oh, here it is. It's Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, and let's see, where can I start from? I think I'm gonna start at the point. Yes, Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, in the 7th verse. It says, "And the Lord Yahweh Bashemel Shai, thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." All right, which is talking about the so-called white man, because the so-called white man has persecuted our people, and you know, very soon it's going to come to the time to where it's going to be on a high level, because that's during the time of Jacob's trouble, when martial law is enacted, when the mark of the beast is fully implemented, which is the RFID microchip. So our enemies, which persecuted us, right? And guess what? They're not the only ones, man. All right, because these other nations have also persecuted our people throughout history, and also too, they had a hand in our downfall, man. All right, so none of the nations are exempt from judgment. All right. And the so-called white man is the main one that hate us, man. All right, and there's a saying that goes, and I always had this in the back of my mind, man. The motto is, they hate us because they ain't us. All right. In other words, they hate us because they're not the chosen. They hate us because we have an inheritance ahead of us. We have the promises that will stem down to us instead of them, instead of Esau, right? So, therefore, the curses that was on us is going to be put on them. And rightfully so, man. All right, because they took an advantage of our downfall. They took advantage of the curses that we were under, because they knew full well that we were under the curses, man. That's why it's a term called manifest destiny. That's why Christopher Columbus came over here in the first place, because he knew that it was that time for them to come back into rulership. All right, that was his main purpose for coming over here in the first place, to take unto himself slaves, because these devils knew about Deuteronomy 28th chapter in the 6th to 8th verse. All right, so therefore they were playing on the prophecies, right, and taking it to their advantage. But see, the thing is that since it was the curse that they took advantage of, so therefore the Lord is going to put the curse on them. All right, so like I said before, man, it's a just reward to these devils. All right. Now, there's another precept I had in mind, but it escapes me right now. But that pretty much hits the point, man. Concerning this video and this lesson, you know, it was rather short, but you know, like I said before, you know, This place, America, was never for our benefit. It was never for us in the first place. And still to this day, man, our people still try to find, refuge and, comfort in this place. And yet this place is set up to fall. All right. Actually, since I said that, I'm going to go ahead and grab one last precept, right? This is Isaiah, the 30th chapter. And I'm starting at 12th verse. Said, wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel, and this is directed towards 2/3 of our people. All right. It says, wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise this word and trust in oppression and perverseness and stay thereon, right? I mean, that's what our people do. They trust in oppression, right? And perverseness, which is what? The ways of America, which is completely, everything that's set up here in America is against the scriptures. All right. So, but our people are fully in tune with that, man. And they trust in that. So therefore, since they trust in oppression and they stay on it, right? And perverseness, verse 13 says, therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach. It's like as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall whose breaking coming suddenly at an instant. See? Because the Lord's going to return as a thief in the night, where they least expect it. So therefore, since our people, 2/3 of our people trust in oppression, they trust in this place, America, which, like I said before, wasn't even set up for us in the first place. Guess what? It's going to be like a breach ready to fall, man. Because when you can't tell if, let's say, for instance, you have a house and the structure is deteriorated and is not kept up with and it's rotted out. You can't tell me that the date and the time and the hour that the house is going to come crumbling down. When it happens, it just happens. So guess what? When that time comes, when our Lord returns, right, this place is gonna go down in an instant, man. And they have no excuse, and there'll be absolutely nothing